Evening, everyone. My name is Albert David Guillen, born on October 26, 1987. It's nice to meet you. This is my show. It's called Vlogs About Nothing, where we talk about nothing, quite literally. And while some people find it entertaining, I think that sometimes it is definitely a struggle to get subs, maintain viewership, all of these things, right? I mean, typically it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 years for somebody to actually start to have a presence here on the platform. And while I'm heavy fast on trying to fast track that, it's really just not up to me. And honestly, I don't have all the best equipment and stuff, so it's just kind of a basic vlog, right? With the dude sitting in front of his camera and talking to himself. That's what we got going on. And so tonight I want to talk about podcasts because podcasts seem to be a big part of everyone's life but mine. So I'm just interested in the evolution of podcasts. I remember being a wee lad, right? A small child. I think I was 12 years old when I first started to see the Apple Shuffle commercials, the iPod Shuffle. That was an interesting time. It was just a bunch of, looked like a Gap commercial, only there were a bunch of middle-aged adults dancing around a white like a white background in a white room on an iPod Shuffle. Like if you don't know what an iPod Shuffle is, the first gen iPod Shuffles are probably one of the coolest MP3 players ever made. Honestly, they're really small, they don't require the internet, and you can put like up to a whole gig of music on them, and wouldn't you know, that's actually a lot of music. So for the music heads out there who like tons of music on their stuff, I mean, you can only listen to so much music, on any given trip. But sometimes I guess we go on longer trips than others. I'm not sure. Regardless, podcasts are interesting because, again, I hear about them all the time. I've heard about them more over a lot more in like the last 10 years or so. But I've never listened to a podcast, honestly. And I'm 30, just turned 37. I'm used to saying I'm 36, but I get older every day, just like you at home. So the thing is, podcasts, I feel like podcasts are a mainstream manipulated kind of a network thing where I've never even met anybody that listens to a podcast, okay? And I've met a lot of people. Listen, obviously, I've not met everyone. Obviously, I do my best to avoid human contact on any level whatsoever outside of my personal life. And, that's just the way that it is. But nonetheless, I've met people, a lot of them, and I've met people that read ebooks. I've met people that listen to audio CDs in their car. I've met a lot of people, but I have never met a single person that has said they listen to a podcast. That's both troubling to me and sort of makes me feel even more like a middle-aged loser. Am I meeting enough people IRL? Are enough people actually telling me the truth about what they like doing and stuff? I mean, I don't know. It's just you'd think it'd be more of a daily topic, right? You'd think that across generations, I mean, does anybody under the age of 30, much like how about 20? I just don't think young people are fervently downloading iHeart Music apps so that they can enjoy their favorite podcast. I don't understand how the economics of the podcast world works. I just know that the man who used to host Fear Factor is now one of the leading free speech social commentators in the United States of America. And hey, I'm not dissing Joe Rogan. I mean, the guy has got a winning formula. He's the most subscribed to podcaster, and I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean? If Joe Rogan is the world's number one podcaster, I dare say we live in a world where Donald Trump's about to get elected president. His right hand man is named Elon Musk, and Joe Rogan is right within that trinity of lovely folks who have a lot of influence over all of our lives collectively, for sure. I mean, Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, and Donald Trump. It's like the right wing dream team, you know? I don't really understand the appeal of those particular individuals myself. I mean, it's fancy to have a lot of money. It's cool to be the world's number one podcaster. And I suppose when you're 80 years old, it looks good on your resume, being the president twice. I mean, I'm not sure what we're all aiming for here. I just know that I've never listened to a podcast. I don't know of anyone that's ever listened to a podcast. And if we're going to be making videos and spending our time talking about how large companies purchase large volumes in quantity of views to up Spotify so their Spotify playlist can be monetized, it's almost like one or two people get a big pot of money and then they stand in front of the pot of money and then they slowly just give little bits of it out, right? Well, they collect theirs for sure. It's like 85 goes out, 15 goes in my pocket. I just don't understand who listens to these guys. And again, I know already, right? There's graphs. I'm sure there's websites out there that can tell me more or less where traffic goes and flows through. But I mean, how much of it is real? That's all that I'm asking. If we now know that most of Twitter was just a bunch of bots, and if we now know that dating websites are just a bunch of bots, weirdos, and fake accounts, literally either powered by generative AI or just by a weirdo or by, at best, generative AI. I mean, or, you know, we used to call them bots, right? There's so many different terms that intermingle with one another and essentially mean the same thing, but I'll refer back to the fact that most of all of the Twitter accounts upon purchase were all fake. And I mean, I guess in theory, if you were the world's wealthiest man, you could definitely buy one of the most trafficked websites in the world. And even if no one really like hopped on that platform anymore, you could still make money flow. I mean, that's not difficult. Snapchat, for example, makes more money off of accrued interest in sitting bank accounts than they actually do from the platform. So again, it's just, I mean, are we giving money to people to hold into high yield savings account so they can have a better life? And moreover, what is up with this podcast culture? I don't know of many people that listen to the radio under the age of 40 in their cars, and there's a radio in their car. I understand that podcasts aren't on the radio, I get that, but I just still feel like XM and Sirius, you know, those satellite radio providers that have won boomers and the quiet generation on over for about 30 years now. I don't know, and I've never met anybody, again, that has an active and valid satellite radio subscription. This isn't exactly the plush lands of that really Villanova, you know? We're not in Pennsylvania. This is the desert out here, and I'm just saying that, in particular, I'm not sure who listens to any podcasts. I'm not sure who listens to Joe Rogan. I mean, it's like we're Alex Jonesing it all over again. It's that kind of a vibe in our culture. I've just seen many videos on my feed about how men are all starting to lean right and all of these things. And again, I mean, if we're looking at the media to have any kind of real impact on how it affects all of us on the daily, I would definitely say we need to look at our listening habits or watch habits or whatever, however people consume podcasts, because again, people like Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro and Joe Rogan, again, all of those major podcasts definitely lean right, for sure, for sure. No, there's nothing wrong with that. I appreciate a different opinion. I really do. It's how we bargain. It's how we collectively agree on a solution that is better and is the best for all people. But I just feel like we're being misled tremendously, and that while there are really big social commentators like Joe Rogan, I just don't feel like Joe Rogan represents anybody under the age of 40. I don't feel like this. I don't know why anyone else would either. And it's fine. The media is controlled by the boomers now. That's great. Let them have it. I know there's really not much we can do to stop that, including really understanding where all of those numbers come from, because I'm a curious guy and I want to know exactly like the routine of an American that has a daily, and in that daily is some time dedicated to Joe Rogan. I'm not. And how do you do it? Like, how did you just hop on the Apple store? This is somebody who's grown up with computers. You feel me? And I still don't or have any interest in getting into the podcast world. I mean, it doesn't seem that appealing. I'd rather have a ham radio, and actually talk to people. But anyways, I'm just a guy behind his desk talking about nothing. And I am making, in fact, an argument against the validity of all of the numbers that come along with podcasts, just because I don't buy it. I don't. And I'm really it's remarkable at best that a bunch of 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, are just on their smartphones with their AirPods listening to the Joe Rogan show. I hope that you guys have a lovely evening, and that's all I got to say about that. I have so much more to say about it, obviously, but I'm going to let it slide. I hope that you guys have a really good night. We talked about podcasts tonight. Hey, seriously, between all of us, I just sometimes don't really understand why I'm being fed things that I don't want to eat. And when Joe Rogan is showing up on my feed like Andrew Tate did, I'm sort of like, what's going on here? Well, I mean, are my viewing habits skewed towards Joe Rogan? And I know they're not. I'm a social capitalist. I'm in fact the opposite of all of these guys, right? I truly mean that. Definitely don't really have anything in common with the dream team known as Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Joe Rogan. I feel like these are the type of dudes that would really like to have some type of Mount Rushmore built in their, likeness, because they're such benevolent people and they're so kind and they're so giving. And Elon Musk wants to help Donald Trump enact Project 2025, which is at best cringe. Project 2025 is, I mean, a conservative's dream. What do these people do in their free time? I don't know. I know that in my free time I talk to y'all, and that's really fun. And then of course I'll break character right at the end, or sometimes during, or just all of it. And that's what's most fun to me. So it really is a journey, and I'm sure that we're going to get to 1,000 videos before the end of the year. It is not an easy thing, for sure. So I hope that you guys have a good night. I got to get started on another video, so bye.